Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your presence here, and welcome to Akasha and Son's ongoing Tree of Life classes. We're just coming out of the Resurrection Conclave at the Hotel Vancouver. It was a wonderful event, and one of the keynote activities of the Resurrection Conclave was a sacred ceremony to honor the spiritual awakening, the personal empowerment, the laws of the universe that we are taught, how to use our minds, how to use our hearts, our feelings out of life. And this culminated this weekend past in a sacred ceremony honoring the union of our minds and our hearts. And I'm feeling that Mother Akasha is going to speak into that a little this evening in terms of the consequences, the results of such a sacred marriage, such a reunion in the minds and the hearts of people everywhere. There's been such conflict and such attack. We attack ourselves, we attack others, and it's because of such separation that has long-standing existed in the hearts and minds of people everywhere. So I feel that the impact of this event is going to be long-standing in wonderful benefits and happier lives it brings to each of us. Deep breath, everyone. Let's take a few moments to enter into a meditation, a quiet invocation. Closing our eyelids, and withdrawing our attention from the outer world and anchoring our attention into our hearts, where each of us lovingly acknowledges that there abides within our physical, spiritual heart a magic presence, a splendor of life that is awake. A tiny flame, the great love flame that beats our heart. And as we love and bless that great God flame in our hearts, and we understand that flame and the light and love it produces comes under our direction, we call upon that inner flame within our hearts to rise, to expand, and to release a constant wave of love back up to our source, the mighty I Am, completing the circle of life. We call upon our heart flame to expand, and with every breath we take, to release waves of sacred fire, love, purity, and power into the substance of our minds, our bodies, our feelings out of life. And we love and bless that great God flame within each of our hearts. Deep breath. And into our gathering today, and into the homes of all who consciously turn towards the light, we welcome the presence of angels. We love and bless the angels. So grateful that we understand that they are here to assist us to live our higher purpose, our destiny, and the divine plan of our lives fulfilled on earth. And we invite the angels to be as close to us as we are to each other. And even though they are yet invisible to our outer sight, we accept their mighty reality. Come, beloved angels, guardian angels, healing angels, angels of the sacred fire, the cherubim the great love angels, the seraphim, the great light angels, angels of the music of the higher spheres, and from the center of the universe, the great central sun's angels, of the immortal flames of cosmic Christ love. Come, beloved angels, shower us with your miracle blessings, that we too may go forth in greater service to others. We thank you. Deep breath. Our beloved great God presence, we are so grateful that we have awakened, and so grateful that millions of people around the world are awakening to their true spiritual divinity. And in our awakening, so grateful the opportunity to be raised up and out of all lack, all limitation, through the power of resurrection. And to this great attainment, we are so grateful for the knowledge and the use of the sacred flames of God. And we turn our attention to 3 ascended masters and their angels to blaze their sacred flames in, through, and around us. To the mighty Saint Germain and his violet purifying flames. To Jesus the Christ and his golden flames of illumination. And to Mother Akasha and her rose-pink flames of divine love, will, and grace. Great masters, come with your angels and form a pillar of the sacred flames of God, violet, pink, and gold, in, through, and around each of us, and pass the substance of the sacred fire into our minds, bodies, and feelings. Purify, illumine, and love the very substance of our minds, bodies, and feelings. We thank you. We love and bless the sacred fire. Deep breath. Our mighty great God self, I am. We are so grateful for the protection that you, the angels, and the ascended masters offer into our lives. And as you have taught us, we call upon you now. Enfold us in your mighty magic armor of light, a shield of cosmic light substance drawn down and around us and below us. Seal us in thy great shields of light that make us invisible to the discord that yet remains in the outer world. An armor of light that makes us more sensitive to the golden voice of God that speaks to our hearts each day. We thank you. To the great Archangel Michael, who has offered his extra protection, we offer Michael our love as we call upon the great Archangel and his legions of angels to continue to sustain and maintain a wall of cosmic blue flames outside of our tube of light as added protection until we are free in our resurrection, our service, and ascension. We thank you. And to the great cosmic beings of our spiritual hierarchy, as they have taught us, we call upon them, beings such as the Lord Maitreya, the Queen of Light, Lord Melchizedek, the Goddess of Venus, Mighty Victory, and others. We call upon you to enfold our lives, our homes, our family, friends, all the outer activities of our lives in your ascended master walls of invisibility, invincibility, invulnerability. Over all that is of human creation, human law, and the sinister force. And we thank you for this mighty protection that you offer into our lives. We are so grateful and blessed. Deep breath. And now, moments before Mother Akasha prepares to greet us, she invites each of us to hold a higher vision for friends, family, and loved ones. We are asked to bring into our minds the names or images of 4 to 5 loved ones. Hold them in your mind for a few moments. As together we and students around the world, together we call forth, we hold of higher vision for continuously unfolding, miracle-making moments into the lives of our loved ones. And we are so grateful for this divine intervention. As we hold the silence and hold our loved ones within our consciousness for a few moments, welcoming continuously unfolding, miracle-making moments. Beloved students of life, Akasha is with you. And please feel free to return your awareness to the outer room. I thank each of you for your presence here this day. And I wish for a few moments to acknowledge another wondrous conclave this past weekend. My goodness, from the Ascended Master discourses, did your messengers ever show up? And what balanced this conclave with music and all the different activities of conclave? I felt it was so balanced. I felt it was so rich. As you know, precious hearts, you could, but it's really not advisable to be listening for 3 days to Ascended Masters teach you. If that was a constant thing, there would be a point that your minds would fill up so fast, and your ability to absorb not only the wisdom, not only the teachings, but to absorb the presence of the Master, the radiation of the Master, your ability to absorb that deep into your feelings and even the cellular activity of your physical body just would not be possible if those Ascended Master discourses were not coupled and balanced beautiful with all the compositions of music that came forth this weekend. I am truly grateful, and I thank each of you for your presence. Indeed, an activity occurred this conclave, of which I feel to announce to each of you reasons why such happy moments are destined for each of you. But first, Illuminata. I am the sacred marriage of your mind and your heart. Abraveona. If you are hearing this for the first time, And of course, all of you precious students in Vancouver, you know that this is being recorded and broadcast, and you know that thousands of students around the world are listening to this recording. And so I say to all those precious hearts and so many countries around the world today that are tuning in to these recordings, and I love and bless them equally as I do all of you. And I say to those precious students, many of them have already begun to tune in to the recordings of the Conclave. And I say to all those students, whether individually or privately or together with spiritual brothers and sisters in your communities and in groups, that you can do this with each other, or you can do this with your right hand over your forehead. Yes, that's that hand. And your left hand over your heart. Illuminata. Illuminata. I am the sacred marriage of my mind and my heart. Abraveona. Indeed. What is that, Jason? Brain and heart. That is right. The brain. We're actually uniting the two physical components. Illuminata. I am the sacred marriage of my brain and my heart. Abraveona. The first and the last words, these comes from the language that angels and ascended beings speak when they are living in the higher realms, when they are communicating with each other at universal levels of communication. They will either use the language of light, language of love, or a combination. And those two words are ancient sacred words that also are keynote aspects of the power of resurrection to lift you and raise you. And so, some 300 students participated in this sacred marriage in the Resurrection Conclave in Vancouver, British Columbia. I have always promised that once the conclaves come to completion, that we will project all the energies of conclaves. We have many capable beings who can do this. And we take all that energy of conclave and we send it up to the great central sun. There we take that energy and place it in the sacred flames of creation. Then we send the rays of that energy to students everywhere. That is, students tune in to the recordings or tune in to the energies of conclave, that in their own homes for the weeks to follow, that they can be blessed and benefit. Now, let us do what we do. We move forward to the next step. It is a constant. I am sure that you would not enjoy your physical hearts missing a beat. That would not necessarily be the best thing. And so, as I've said to you many times, this is a serious path, serious students, serious school. And we don't miss a beat. Magnificent conclave, back to class. Let us move forward. And now I wish to reveal some things to you, of which the last 3 Tree of Life classes, the last 3 Wednesdays, hopefully have been emotionally, psychologically, consciousness expanding preparation for the next thing that is to come. I ask you to hear well on this, to extrapolate on it in your own personal time. Hear this good news. A brain, a mind that is joined with a heart and feelings, and realizes that this is so, can never feel guilt again. A mind and a heart, a brain and a heart, whatever way you want to work it, that is joined and knows that it is so, realizes that it is so, remembers that it is so, cannot feel guilt again. Guilt and all its energetics begin to fade away. Because the cause of guilt, the workings of the altered ego, attack and sin. Concepts, attack and concepts of sin are no longer possible. A brain and a heart, a mind and a feelings that are joined, cannot attack each other. And when attack is no longer present, guilt flees. And as this realization grows in each of you, as you make yourself remember this and realize it, it is here that your happiness of this fact is so. And then that happiness begins to increase. As I have encouraged each of you not to abandon the main characters of which religions have been formed. Teachers, prophets, Buddhas, Christs. For very few of religion today exists with the truths spoken by these ones of former times. And so I have asked you, be mindful of this. As all of you have set aside the dogma of religion and yet realize there was a pursuit occurring within yourself to seek something greater. And in your seeking and in your searching, in your studying, which may have very well begun with areas of personal empowerment leading to spiritual empowerment, have each of you come to realize that you are spiritual beings and that you require no religion to declare it. In fact, you were a spiritual being long before religion was invented in this world. And the truth is, you always will be. Now it is because of these things that we have reviewed over and over that there is one word that I have not used. It is a choice. Every ascended master makes a choice not to use this word because it is a word of separation. It is a word of the ego. And it is a word the sinister force has imposed upon every religion in this world to guarantee separation, to guarantee that you would not be spiritually empowered. And that word that I have not used, and only must say it to tell you the word that I have not used, and when I say it you will know, rarely have I spoken this word of the tens of millions of words I've spoken, and that is the word sin. But I wish to use the word sinlessness for you to capture within yourself what it is like, knowing what you know today, that guilt and attack go hand in hand. They are the handiwork of the altered ego. The purpose, and only one purpose, and that is to produce concepts of sin that are guaranteed to grow and perpetuate within your being. And as they grow and perpetuate in your being, you become smaller and smaller, and those who control the world become bigger and bigger. The result of the sacred marriage between your brain and your heart, your thoughts and your feelings. This joining, the key here for each of you to think about is the joining. What has been joined, if it has a value system, and if the heart is what is being joined to, it is in that joining and the realization that it is so that guilt is no longer possible. As a feeling, as an emotion, as something you would project onto others, it just isn't possible. Because the seeds of guilt are removed, and the seeds of guilt have always been, and it has never changed. It has always been attack. What is joined unto each other and made one cannot attack itself. Therefore, guilt fades away. As guilt fades away, attack is no longer possible. A breath, a feeling, an awareness of your innocence, regardless of the dreams, the nightmares, the experiences in the outer world, all that fades away as you breathe in a depth of innocence. And it is this awareness that leads you to a whole new dynamic of happiness. Not so happy. Not happy up on the surface and something else going on down deep. A happiness that reaches right in. A happiness that has roots. Because what would offend that happiness, which is always guilt, is no longer the roots deep into the psychology of your being. A new era, a new chapter. And this is only part of it. As your brain and heart are joined together and cannot attack each other because of the joining, you will find in days, in weeks, of any willingness to entertain inner conflict, In fact, try as hard as you might. Any attempt for inner conflict, it's just not there. It's like you'll be saying to yourself, come on, fight with me. And you're talking to yourself. And it's just not there. It's as if something was just plucked from you. But you're still at a beginning place. Because as your brain and heart are joined and will not attack each other, therefore there is a new quietness in your mind. There's a new acceptance. Long-standing shadows of guilt are leaving your emotional body. A depth of innocence is welling up. And then, by nature, you will seek out others who have joined their brain and their hearts back together again. You will naturally be attracted to others who are doing or have done the same. And within 10 days, from 300 at Conclave to 7,000 students around the world, their brain and heart join together. And this is where I ask you to recite. You don't have to go up and say it to each other, but inwardly. Be able to say, well, I imagine I'll really start getting along with that person now. But it's the acknowledging. Remember, when I first said it, and realizing it is so. It is the brain and heart when joined. And when realizing it is so. That's another part, important part of the phrase. And realizing it is so. Guilt is no longer possible. Because, why? A joined brain and heart will not attack itself. And attack is the secret weapon that the ego uses to produce guilt in oneself or another. And blessed hearts, you can just reflect on all the times that you were down on yourself, on all the times you've beaten yourself up. That may not sound like the heavy-duty word attack, but you see, that's the ego. The ego says, oh, this is just a mild thing. But it's all attack. Going against yourself, speaking yourself down, not having faith and belief in yourself. And attack is what feeds guilt. And with that gone, again, the waves of innocence you've not felt before. And then spiritual, conceptual ideas that you have briefly touched. Spiritual, conceptual ideas that you've briefly touched. Books that you've read will become a dynamic new reality. Would you like an example? Yes. I'm sure happy that you said that. So there are lots of spiritual books out there about meet your best friend, your inner child, how to connect with your inner child, how to Know the innocence of your inner child. Many people have tried. Many people have had temporary experience. The inner child, that's the spirit, the presence, the soul that the Heavenly Mother and Heavenly Father, that's the jewel of your being. Inner child is just a lovely term. But it's the essence of you that regardless of the nightmares and regardless of the things that happen out there to you in the world of experience and relationship, this is the hour of grace. If any of you had anyone out in the world to say to you, oh yeah, will you tell me what you think grace is? And you can say, you're darn right I can tell you what grace is. It's at the end of the day, no matter how bad a life I've had, no matter how broken my heart, no matter how victimed I've been, no matter the terrible things I've done, broken my life, broken my heart, abused my body, no matter what I've done in the outer world, grace is knowing that it can never change the truth of my spiritual being. It can never change how the Heavenly Father and the Heavenly Mother see me as the jewel of their life. They see me as pure innocence. And grace is an awareness that I may judge against myself by my experiences, but the Mother and the Father never do judge. That's only found in religion. So these are moments of grace that deepen. And so a spiritual concept such as connecting in with the inner child, that you may connect in with some of the innocence of your being, that's an automatic given. As you realize, and you're going to have to recite it. You're going to have to remind yourself. Because the brain, the physical brain, and the physical heart have been joined. And we got to make sure your mind, your thoughts, and your feelings go along with this sacred marriage. That's mostly my responsibility. And I can also tell you to make sure that this marriage sticks. We're not going to have any annulment or divorce. And that means that at the next conclave in Edmonton in June, the goddesses are coming. They're all coming. And if there is any ascended being that knows how to tame the mind so that it maintains the marriage between the brain and the heart, it's the great goddesses. Beings such as the goddess of peace, goddess of light, and the goddess of unity will be there as well. Goddess of liberty, goddess of justice, goddess of love, and more. Goddess of harmony. Just to keep pouring on this harmonizing frequency between what has been given for each of you. And what is your part? Your part is to recognize that it is so. And to do this at least once a day for the next couple of months, where you remind yourself a brain and a heart that are joined, and recognize that that's so. This joined brain and heart is the end of all feeling and experiencing guilt of any kind. By now, precious hearts, you must be certain that there have been enough unconscious forces playing out in your personality, playing out in the psychology of what makes you the person that you are. We are now at the core. For 20 years, I've been peeling the onion with you, and we are at the core, in which if you have lost your ability to attack because your brain and heart are joined in marriage, and you've literally lost the ability to attack. And if attack is the source of guilt, then all of this begins to leave you. And that's as it's leaving you, what is underneath, it's always been there. But the human and all its hurts and wounds and all its aggression and violence has pushed it down, pushed it down. It's always been there. It's about connecting with it and letting it come up. It's your core innocence. It's the essence out of which your being was created. And as you acknowledge that a joined brain and heart cannot attack, and therefore this is the end of guilt, you're acknowledging this once a day, you will start meeting other people who are walking that same approach, reuniting their head and their heart, thinking with their heart, feeling with their mind. Apparently, even a few lamas are not aware that you can feel with your head or think with your heart. So where are you at? You are at the end of separation. This is the fuel. Guilt, attack, this is the fuel of the ego. What does the ego desire? Separation, loss of power, reconnect, unification, restoration of power, of personal power, of spiritual power. Now, you are making yourself a vessel that can be filled with such spiritual power that there is nothing in yourself that can minimize it or even attack it. Then, as you hold this vibration over the next 2-3 months, people in the world are going to notice the biggest change. Friends of yours, colleagues who have watched you change, watched you become a nicer person, watched you become more balanced over these years, will observe a bigger change in you than they have ever seen. In fact, mind my words, they will say to you, you bring a light into this world. I always feel at ease with you. I always feel safe with you. I always feel so comfortable. And then they might say things like, I don't think you even have the power to judge, do you? Maybe that's why I feel so safe with you. They will see your light. They will feel. They may not be able to put their finger on exactly what is it, but they will feel what is the absence of attack, of guilt. They will feel this union, this loss of separation. They will therefore be drawn to you. And it is where you, each of you, are the next entrepreneurs, the next teachers upon this earth that one day will set the people of this earth free. There is so much hatred in this world, so much separation. As I asked you recently to be very, very clear with yourself, this world, what is going on the surface of the planet, it is definitely improving from 100 years ago. It is definitely improving. People have more conscience. People have more heart. Never have there been this size of population on the surface of this planet, except for a former golden age millions of years ago. But does it alarm you if I say to you, still, this world is owned and governed by the ego? Now I can say it in religious words. I suppose born-again Christians will agree with me, not because I agree with anything they say, but they will agree with me if I just come out and say that Satan governs this world. But that's very iffy to use that language, because I'm not talking about the Satan of religion that is a fallen angel that is turned against God. No, I am illumining you. Go back. Satan is the ego. And so, even though life is improving upon this planet, technology is improving, the people have more conscience, there is more peace, those who are controlled by the world ego continue to run the banks, they continue to run weapons of war, and they continue to initiate hatred and terrorism. The great Archangel Michael, who has promised to see what he can do regarding the most recent events, regarding ISIL, and what is going on in Iraq. What is going on in Iraq is an interesting story to unfold, my precious hearts, over the next 3 weeks. As Iraqi troops unite with Iraqi police, and they unite with Shia militia and Sunni troops coming in from Iran to help, all coming together to free Mosul and Tikrit, two major cities taken over by ISIL. Well, you have a saying. We will see, and we will observe this calamity of humanity. It is said, there is a phrase in your world, something about the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Is that how the phrase goes? You best watch your news, and you best hold a vision that your world leaders, because you have people who have hated each other for centuries, that have all come together to push back ISIL. Now, what happens when that is accomplished? Will the Iraqi forces all of a sudden be friends with the Shia militants? Will the Shia militants all of a sudden be friends with the Sunnis, troops that have come in from Iraq? You best, precious hearts, hold the vision that world leaders realize what is happening. America realizes what is happening. America will not support Iraq with Iran in there. The only reason I bring this forward to you, this is not usually my subjects that I cover. I bring this forward to you to show you that the world is still owned by the ego, and the ego will do everything to bring about World War III. And if it will not happen in Crimea or Ukraine, it will happen in Iraq, in Babylon, in Syria. Well, at least this is the goal of the ego that controls the bankers, the Illuminatis, the powers that play. And what is the greatest tragedy is that all these people, you all came to the earth 15 million years ago together. There was no Chinese, no Russians, no Americans. There was no Egyptians, Iranians, Vietnamese, Canadians. You were one nation under God, one people with the most glorious golden skin. And you all spoke one language. And you were all at peace, busy developing yourself as the great I am race, a creator race, evolving yourselves. Many people have asked, this is such a small planet. Compared to super planets in this universe, why would a spiritual hierarchy be interested in what is going on? There are planets in our galaxies and galaxies that are the size of your physical sun. And the beings that live on those planets consider your Earth a dwarf planet. But the inner connectivity and the unity of our universe, solar systems, planets depend upon their relationship with a physical sun. Solar systems depend upon their relationship with other solar systems. Galaxies depend on a precision-like perfection of movement with each other, all planned by great cosmic forces of intelligence. Take one small planet out of that equation in which everything has been programmed working together. You can have a calamity that affects not only your solar system, the Milky Way, the galaxy. And therefore, your beloved planet is under so much intervention. And what is even a more tragedy is that most of the people on earth do not know that there are visitors that are coming in from other star systems, that there is help coming in. But that help doesn't come in and say, oh, we're going to help the Iraqis and destroy the Iranians. Oh, we're going to help the Ukrainians and destroy the Russians. That help that is coming in from on high does not think that way at all. The help that is coming in from higher dimensions and part of a divine plan to save the people is, how do we disarm this race of humans? And how do we make them realize they are all the same? A golden race from the center of the universe. Isn't that amazing? Think about how the biology of your physical form, that is, you come into vehicles, these bodies that will host you, beings of consciousness, and as your consciousness is so segregated and separated and made to attack and guilt build in, add 15 million years. The I Am race scattered to different sections of the planet. Add 15 million years in. People's biological forms begin to change, their colors, their appearances, and more. I only say that to reinforce with you how terrifying has the ego been in its success to create separation. And you, precious hearts, are the beginning. And people like you in spiritual paths around the world how do you convince people in the outer world to lay down their arms when they will not lay down their own inner arms and stop attacking themselves and family members and friends and cities that they dwell in? I want you to be sure that you understand that what has occurred is almost phenomena because of divine intervention. I know that a number of students in the days after Conclave felt quite a bit of pressure up in the top of the brain, almost closing in on a little bit of a headache, as the sacred nerve between the heart and the brain, that valve reopened, and energy from the brain moving into the heart that the brain had not known for so long put a little pressure. So I urge each of you, precious hearts, that you will acknowledge every day. And if you think that you have not had this intervention, Illuminata, this is a universal language. It draws to you powers that make it so. Illuminata, I am the sacred marriage of my brain and my heart. Abraveona. Abraveona means more than I have disclosed to you. Just the sound, Abraveona, the choral angelic host, respond to that song as heart impulses reach into the brain. Beloved hearts, I urge you at least once a day to tell yourself, the brain and the heart that is joined and realizes that it is so. And you realize that it is so now, and realizes that it is so, is at the end of guilt. For a joined brain and heart, joined, will never attack itself. And when you say that, take your two, what do you call that finger? The second finger? Index. Take the index, conjoin them like so. And you say, and you get to authenticity. Just on your own, you could put pressure and make one release, yes? But if you are all authentic and really connect those two fingers and the brain and heart that is joined and realizes it is so, will never attack itself or another. You will not be able to let those fingers go except to withdraw them back. But to force one to win over the other, no. And it is in this awareness, attack is gone. You feel it just withdrawing from you. Guilt of any kind, experiences past. New things, new spiritual concepts will have a rich new connotation to it. You will remember the words of the mighty Saint Germain. There is neither right nor wrong, except that thinking makes it so. To be illumined with the heart. Awake. I pray you remember to breathe, to remember everything that you are gaining, to allow a moment of liberation. Right and wrong? That's not a concept I entertain anymore. Oh, those are perceptions that are just ladled with shame and guilt and all the material of the altered ego. Got to find something much more clear. Something that my heart knows the truth. Because what might be wrong for me may be right for another. What might be right for another may be wrong for me. Who is to say? The thinker. But does that make it truth? What is truth? Huge question. Even the most illumined being in the universe leaves a reservation for that question to always be slightly open. I can declare my truth. I can state my truth. What is truth, though? What is truth? We approach it. We approach it. The moment you think you're on it, it'll flee a little ways for you. And so, what do you use? What your heart knows. We abandon thoughts of right and wrong as we do guilt and attack. In its place, while we are yet in a world that just is determined to measure everything, time and space, etc., my measurement that I will find useful to me is simply for me to determine if something is constructive or whether it is destructive. If I can answer that, And if I can come from a place of love, I will always know if something is constructive or destructive. No thinking is going to make that so. The heart knows. And so I thank you, precious hearts. I hope you will be mindful of this. I hope I've spoken into it enough that you will remind yourself and know that there is a naturalness that will now unfold. The only thing you have to do is stay aware of this. Realize that it is so. For right next door to realization is actualization. Actualization is having the physical, experiential counterpart to realization. God bless you. I thank you. Namaste. We love and bless you, Mother Akasha. We thank you. Deep breath, everyone.